I'm your host, Bradley Martin, and this is Clearing the Way, a resource for small business owners. Hello, humans. I am your host, Bradley Martin, and this is Clearing the Way, a resource for small business. I talk with sales and HR experts, other small business owners, and anyone else that can provide you and I with information to clear your way to success. Today, we are talking about it's a topic that you might not consider, and it's one that is very important and one that I've screwed up several times. Today, we are talking about working with friends. Not as partners, but as clients. I have done this several times, definitely done this a lot, and I've always been pretty fortunate that it's ended well. The projects have all gone well, but each time that I work with a friend, literally every time up to this point, there's been something that I've done or something along the project that I think should have been done better. So let's start with kind of along the lines of what last week's episode was, which was the or today it'll be about expectations, but last week was about boundaries and communication, and this kind of carries over, and there's some overlap here, but obviously all of those things from last week, they are super important when you're working with friends. But today, number one is the money side. We've got to set clear expectations. If you're expecting to get paid, make that clear. If you're expecting to work for free, make that clear. If you're going to work at a discount, make it clear. We've just got to be very, very clear about what we're doing here. It doesn't matter what that is. It just needs to be discussed, and probably needs to be discussed immediately. Your friend might come to you just looking for help, and they think that maybe you're going to do it for free just because that's what friends do, right? Well, if you start exploring that and you are thinking that, yeah, let's dive into here, I'm going to get paid for this, let me spend a ton of time, and that's not the case, that's going to be kind of crappy for you. And the same if it's the other way, it's if you're expecting to be paid and you let them know, hey, this is what you owe at the end, and they're not expecting to pay anything, that's going to be another uncomfortable situation. So move that discomfort to the beginning of the project, and it will be a little bit less than the discomfort at the end. And it will probably be uncomfortable at the beginning, especially if you're just starting out, because it's a conversation about money, which early on is already difficult, and it's with your friends now, so it feels weird. It's going to be uncomfortable, but it needs to happen. It is super important, especially if you're expecting to just help them out, or you're expecting to just make a little bit of money, and if you're not on the same page, it's going to be weird at some point. So just deal with a little discomfort at the beginning, and that is going to help a ton. There's no right or wrong here. If you want to help out, fine. If you want to offer a discount, fine. If you want to not do any of that, also fine. All of them are completely fine, or any variation. If you want to barter, whatever it is, it's fine. There's, I'm sure you can find people that'll tell you, one way is the way to do it and the other way is not, and that's all fine. But if you're just be clear about whatever it is that you're doing. You don't want to get to the end and you're asking for money and they weren't expecting it, or you don't want to put yourself in that situation. You don't want to put your friend in that situation. Just talk about money as early as possible. Okay. So, if you do decide to offer a discount, or you're going to do it for free, just make sure that you then discuss the level of commitment to the project from your side. So if this is something that you're helping out with and you're going to do it for free, it's probably not going to be a priority to you, I would imagine. Maybe it is still, but if you're doing other paid work first, just make sure that you let your friend know, because you don't want them thinking you're going to have this thing done in a week, but really you're doing it in your spare time, so it's probably going to take you a month, and it's something that they're relying on. Like, just be clear about it. Is it going to be a priority? Is it something you're going to tackle in your spare time? How long do you expect it to take? Go through all of those things, just so that when you get to the end, or 2 weeks in and they're expecting that it was going to be done already because that's how long it normally takes you. You just want them to know that, again, this is all about being on the same page. We just got to be very clear about it. And it's super important when you're working with your friends, just because of how delicate those situations can be. Because it isn't something, in most cases, at least from my experience, if you're new to working with your friends in that way, it's gonna add a little bit of it's a new thing to kind of not tiptoe around, but a new thing to consider, and you've got to approach it kind of intelligently, or it can go kind of sideways, and you don't really want that. The next thing and the last thing for this episode. This is a short one. But the next and last thing for the day is stick to your process. Super simple. Stick to it. You've developed it for a reason. If you wouldn't do it with another client, don't do it with them. If you would do it with another client, do it with them. By that, I mean, just if you normally require some type of questionnaire, you normally require some set of meetings or whatever, that's a standard. Stick to it with your friends. Every single time that I do this, this is my most common mistake. I've done this one more than any of the others, and every single time I not immediately, in the middle of the project, I say, I gotta stick with the process next time, and I don't do it. So don't be like me. You end up, or I end up, changing the way that I do things to make it easier on my friends, or whatever the reason is. It's just, here's my thoughts, is like, this is something that maybe I don't need to do it. This feels like maybe a burden for them. Okay, I just won't do it. Well, what ends up happening is the project moves slower. Everything is less efficient because I have a process that I normally follow, and now that is not the case. I'm not doing it anymore. So now I have to think about, hey, did I do this thing yet? And did I do this thing yet? And, I don't have this information because I didn't do the same thing I normally do. Everything becomes more difficult, less efficient, slower. It screws it all up. And literally every single time I realize it, and then I do it again. So don't be like me. If you have a process, follow it. Just do yourself a favor. Just follow it. Require the same things from your friends. That's the most important piece, at least in my opinion, based on all of my things. Yeah. And that's it for the day. Super short episode. But this is something that is always important, but especially important early on. All of these things for me were, it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to do all of them, really. Especially when you're starting out, because your confidence might not be there. And all of these things are uncomfortable to begin with. So if you're talking about money with clients, and normally probably going to be uncomfortable at the beginning. And now you're adding it to your friends, and now you're asking friends for money, and that can feel a little bit weird. So these are all uncomfortable and super important. Like you gotta handle these things early. And the discomfort at the beginning of the project will be way, way better than the discomfort at the end. And then I've gotten into this situation several times where you don't discuss things clearly at the beginning, and then you get to the end and you end up just saying, oh, well, I guess I'll just do it for free because we didn't talk about it, or I'm going to give you this crazy discounted rate because we didn't really talk about it, and now I don't know what your budget is, and it just becomes weird. And then that can start to build, not resentment, but I mean, I guess if you did that enough times and the same people, I could definitely see how that might build some animosity or some resentment or anything like that. So you don't want that, obviously. You're working with your friends. So talk about these things early on. Talk about the money. Talk about the time commitment. Stick to your plan. Let them know what that is. Again, if you would normally do it with your clients, do it with your friends. And if you wouldn't do it with your clients, don't do it with your friends. I guess the caveat to that would be your friends could potentially be a little bit more lenient and maybe a good person to try something slightly new with. If you have a couple variations of your process that you think might be better, that might be a good idea to try with them. But treat them as clients throughout the project, not like a friend. So by that, I just mean just stay clear with them. Stay as clear as you would with a normal client, and as transparent as you normally would, just so that you don't run into any of the discomfort at the end, or the weirdness, or whatever you want to call it. And let them know, like, if you're going to be trying something new, let them know, like, hey, this is how I normally do this. I'm giving you a discount, and I want to try this because I think this might be better. Can you give me some feedback? Like, there's some great things that can happen when you're working with your friends. But you just want to be clear, and you just want to make sure that you're avoiding all of those areas that could be a little hairy. That's it. I've messed up all these several times, and it sucks every time. You end up either losing money or just feeling weird about a situation, or your friends feel weird about it, and just all of it is avoidable. Good communication solves all of these things. Learn from me and all of my mistakes. That's all for today. Super short, but a good one coming into the new year. Next week, I think we're going to do, I think I may have Neil on, the newly married Neil. And we're going to talk about some goal setting. That might be next week. It might be the first week of the year. But yeah, share this with any of your friends. Maybe you can, if you're not very confrontational and you're feeling a little weird about a friend that is now becoming a client, maybe share this episode with them. Tell them, hey, take a couple minutes before we start working together, and set the stage for your upcoming project. Share it, like it, let the humans know that you're learning something from this. Let me know if you're learning something from this. Yeah, let me know if you would like to see anything new in the upcoming year. I've still got a ton of people that I'm reaching out to get scheduled, but I've just been. I think I need to listen to that Overcoming Overwhelm episode again, for myself. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for doing all those things. And if you've got any feedback, let me know. Till next time. Thanks. I'm your host, Bradley Martin, and this is Clearing the Way, a resource for small business owners.